The Caribbean region, as shown here in this map, encompasses 35 countries and territories that border the Gulf of Mexico and the Caribbean Sea. On this topographic map of the Caribbean region, the light green represents 500 to 1,000 feet above sea level, yellow represents 1,000 to 2,000 feet, red represents 2 to 5,000 feet above sea level, and the darkest red represents 5 to 10,000 feet. The highest mountain in this region is Pico Duarte, which is located in the Dominican Republic. It stands at 10,164 feet above sea level and is the only mountain higher than 9,800 feet in the whole region. Only 15 mountains in this region exceed 3,200 feet above sea level. The Caribbean Plate is roughly 1.2 million square miles, and it borders the North American, South American, and Cocos Plates. The northern edge of the Caribbean Plate borders the North American Plate. Part of the Puerto Rican Trench runs along this border, which at about 8,400 meters is the deepest place in the Atlantic Ocean. This boundary is a transform boundary, which means the two plates slide past each other. To the east and south of the Caribbean Plate lies the South American Plate. The eastern border between these two plates is a convergent boundary, which is also known as a subduction zone. The South American Plate is being pulled under the Caribbean Plate. This boundary contains 17 active volcanoes. The southern boundary between these two plates is a combination of transform and convergent boundaries. This is a very complex boundary, and earthquakes frequently occur there. The Caribbean Plate is moving 22 millimeters a year in relation to the South American Plate. On the western border of the Caribbean Plate lies the Cocos Plate. It is subducted beneath the Caribbean Plate, which forms the Central American Volcanic Arc. Earthquakes often occur at these convergent boundaries since magma is less dense than the surrounding rock. The magma rises to the surface, breaking through the rock as it moves, which generates earthquakes. One of the most devastating earthquakes in the Caribbean region in our lifetime was the Haitian earthquake of 2010. It registered an initial magnitude of 7.0 on the Richter scale, but was soon followed by two aftershocks of magnitudes 5.9 and 5.5. This earthquake was caused by a release of energy as the Caribbean Plate and North American Plate slipped past each other. More than 300,000 people were killed, and over 1 million more were left homeless due to Haiti's lack of building codes. Since most buildings had hardly any support, they quickly crumbled, leaving many people trapped inside to die.
One of the biggest earthquakes to hit Central America occurred in Mexico City in 1985. Here's a clip showing what it looked like.
Está temblando un poquitito. No se asusten, vamos a quedarnos. Les doy la hora. 7 de la mañana, Chihuahua. 7 de la mañana, 19 minutos 42 segundos, tiempo del centro de México. Sigue temblando un poquitito, pero pues vamos a tomarlo con una gran tranquilidad. Vamos a esperar un segundo para poder hablar.
During this live broadcast of the Mexico City Morning News, communication with the outside world was abruptly cut off. Mexico descended into silence. Minutes later, thousands of people lay dead or trapped in the ruins of apartment complexes, hotels, hospitals, and other public buildings.
The earthquake's epicenter was actually off the west coast of Mexico, several hundred miles from Mexico City. However, the city lies in a drained lake bed, so the ground has sky-high water content and amplified the shaking caused by the tectonic plates. The soil essentially acted like a liquid, taking away the support of structures. In Mexico City alone, 412 buildings collapsed and more than 3,000 were seriously damaged. Now we have a clip that, though not filmed in Mexico City, is an excellent example of what happened to the ground during the earthquake there. In order to understand the earthquake, we need to study the shifting of plates around Mexico. The Cocos Plate pushes against and slides under the North American Plate, creating a convergent plate boundary where the quake happened. That expanse caused by the boundary had seismic energy that had been accumulating in it since an earthquake all the way back in 1911.
Researchers Smith, Kalis, and others used the continuous GPS measurements in the Caribbean to determine regional velocity fields. They wrote about this in their article, Current Block Motions and Strain Accumulation on Active Faults in the Caribbean. They used this information to help create a reliable catalog of earthquakes in the region and to help predict them. This map shows the predicted motion of the North American plate relative to the South American plate along their common boundary in the central western Atlantic Ocean. These researchers hope that their geometric model will prove useful in determining the predicted movement of these plates. In the past year alone, there have been 3,325 earthquakes in this region. And as of Monday, February 19th, there had been 7 in the past 24 hours. This map shows recent earthquakes, locations, and magnitudes. The majority of these earthquakes are below 3.0 on the Richter scale and have little to no impact on people. Most of the time, they can't even be felt.